Hey guys, welcome to night two for the HGC ANZ Premier League. I'm Diskin Kerr, and joining me tonight is the godlike Phoenix himself, GL Phoenix.
Hey Disco, it's great to be here. I'm very excited to be here, and we're looking forward to some really great games tonight. We had a great start to the season on Tuesday, and we're looking to carry that through into this day as well.
That's right. Tuesday night was a massive night for the ANZ region, clocking at just making milestones, some amazing games from some teams. But tonight's looking like it's going to be just as good. Matches tonight will be Rich Gang versus Downfall, first up on stream. Behind that, another game we'll see offline will be Outlaws versus Quick Match. And then coming up after the Downfall versus Rich Gang will actually be Nekomimi versus Quick Match Warriors. Again, offline will be Crimson versus Rich Gang after that. So big games tonight. Very interesting with the first matchup, though, Rich Gang versus Downfall. Back in preseason, last time they met, it was actually Downfall that lost to Rich Gang. But something that we didn't see on Tuesday, because it happened off stream, was actually Downfall defeated Aztecs 2-0. That's huge.
It was a big surprise because Aztec was one of the teams that, they were the team that just completely swept through those qualifiers, went 14-0, whereas Downfall, they only ended up at 10-4, was kind of struggling in a few matches here and there. And to have them come out in the first game of this, or the first series of the Premier League for them and actually take the win, is going to be incredibly great momentum and great confidence booster for them in coming into this match. So very interested to see how these two teams match up.
Yeah, definitely between the preseason and now, Downfall definitely have been, burning the midnight oil to get themselves in a preparation for their games. We just have a highlight, the Rich Gang roster tonight. There's been an emergency substitution had to come into place, and it's actually Booty Pop is out for this evening, and Katori has stepped up to fill the role. Now, this is an emergency replacement, so we have to stress that it has been authorized for the use of tonight, but there will be a review of the roster tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. So we will be getting into the game very shortly. I do believe we wanted to just get into the game as soon as possible, but just wanted to make sure everything is still within the rules and ready to go. So I do believe we have both teams in the lobby. The first map is going to be Barax's Holdout. I believe we're ready to get this show on the road, right, Disco?
We are very, very ready indeed. Interesting with Barax's Holdout, it actually was chosen by Rich Gang. So Baraxis is considered to be one of the more snowballier maps. So Rich Gang looking to have an early domination here with their first showing in the league tonight as well. Yeah,
it's a very interesting map to start off with. I mean, we know all the jokes. We know all the memes about Baraxis and that. It's just more often than not, you're going to be done before 10 minutes, and it's a bit of an awkward one to start off with, but it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, we just have to wait and see how it turns out. I'm just interested to see how these two teams match up. As I mentioned earlier, Downfall have pretty much riding a wave of momentum, but we haven't really seen Rich Gang so far. They were very strong in the preseason qualifiers, only dropping a single game, and that was to Aztec. So they showed a lot of strength. I'm very interested to see if they can carry through that, even though they do have this emergency substitution.
I really like the early ban here. So Maev, very strong character. An interesting thing that we have seen from Downfall is that they've actually shown a, not so much a reliance, but a very preference to play Maev. She appeared in both their first games on night one, Konya playing the Maev and being so devastating on it. So not only is Maev a high priority ban we've seen a lot, they're reducing someone that's a little bit comfortable for Konya from Downfall.
Yeah, that Maev is just a little bit strong. Sure, you can get a few nerfs into it, but as we've seen with quite a lot of the other heroes recently, look at Hanzo, look at Genji, doesn't matter how many nerfs they get, they're still pretty damn good. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see them end up on those ban lists most of the night. Actually, speaking of another one who's really strong despite nerfs and is going to be populating that ban list, it's going to be the Blaze. So he's just very strong, has the wave clear to be either in the 4-man or even just in the solo lane. He's very versatile in that regard.
All right, so Malfurion has been locked in for Downfall. We might see an early pick here coming out on Gul'dan for the side of Rich Gang picked Malfurion. We might see Downfall wanting to actually get Gul'dan early. He's strong on this map, which makes him a very powerful pick. But you also don't want Gul'dan matched up with the Malfurion, who can provide him mana. Gul'dan no longer has to worry about damaging himself with his trait. Yeah. He gets it for free, making him a terrifying beast inside those team fights.
Yeah, and he also brings out Wave Clear, which is very powerful on this map. You want to be able to deal with those Zerg waves should you come up against some of those stronger collections thrown at you. And Gul'dan can deal with those pretty well. Either Corruption or even the Fellflame build, both are very viable. And as you mentioned, with that Malfurion, would be able to just keep on rushing through those. It's actually going to be the ETC and the Genji, so they want to just shore up that front line with that ETC. And the Genji, it looks like Downfall are wanting to really just go for a lot of those fights, because pushed in and forced into a defensive position, that Genji can start to struggle. Looks like Downfall want to be on the aggressive side of things.
Yeah, 100% what you're just talking about then. When you're fighting for the objective on Barax's holdout, you're looking to poke the enemy off the objective, force them back to heal, take it for yourself. Having someone on Genji on the team, obviously, as they're retreating, he can dive in there and get some of those well-needed, well-deserved kills on the enemy team, just snowballing the game out even more as they can't contest the objective. There's the Gul'dan locked in against the Malfurion. Gul'dan offers a similar thing on poking onto the objective. Obviously, you can drop the Corruption Wave, so either Fellflame or Corruption Wave, and just really hurt people on the point. And even
he really does bring the hurt, and it really does stack up over time. Especially if they go into the Corruption build, getting that Echo Corruption stacked up early really starts to, as you mentioned, just pile on the hurt and can clean up a lot of those team fights. And also, one thing we really need to mention is the Horrify. Really good at dealing with that Genji. If he tries to dive in and start wailing away at the opponents, that Horrify can completely just pretty much crush the Genji and make him a bit of a non-factor. So also a very good reason to be taking that Gul'dan in this lineup.
All right, so we're looking at bans now. What are we going to remove here? So on the side of Downfall, what is going to weaken this Gul'dan Arthas lineup? Obviously, they'd be looking at themselves to pick up a second warrior. So do they look to ban out? Sorry. Sorry about that. It's my mic cut out for half a second. Like, what are they looking to actually ban out here against this lineup? Second bans, we do see Dahaka removed out. Normally you're looking for a warrior in that second round as well. Muradin's choice, ETC has already been picked up, so he can't be removed. So the Dahaka's a great choice because the enemy team doesn't have a solo laner just yet.
Interestingly enough, you mentioned that they don't really have a solo laner, but more often than not, we do find that Arthur's popping up in that solo laner from time to time. So interesting that the ban from Downfall is going towards that Dahaka instead of going towards one of the more traditional main tanks. But it feels as though they got a bit of an idea of what to work with. On the other side, it looks like Rich Gang do want to be taking away that Uther, not wanting to allow that Genji to, or even the ETC, to have that Divine Shield at their back to allow those heroics to get maximum value.
Yeah, and it's something that they can't take themselves because they've already picked up Malfurion. However, they opt to remove the Malfurion. So we see that they're weakening the solo lane. It's possible that maybe that they were thinking, oh, maybe we could pick up Malfurion behind here, keep Arthas. He acts as our, tank down our bottom lane and have such a strong top lane soloer. But here they've removed him, allowing, this is the weird one, they've actually allowed Downfall to go for that Uther synergy with Genji and ETC.
Yeah, that could be a little bit dangerous, but it looks like Rich Gang have a plan in mind. It looks like they want to be controlling those lanes as much as possible, especially with that Malthael ban. I'm very interested to see where they go with those last two picks because they've got a very durable frontline with that Arthas. They've got a decent amount of damage from the backside with that Gul'dan. It's just about rounding out that composition. But first of all, we just need to see where Downfall end up going with theirs because there's still quite a bit left on the table for them to pick up.
They're in a weird spot, right? They've got the Genji, and they're like, well, who are we going to use to poke onto the objective? Hanzo, there we go, they just picked him in. Hanzo's still on the board, locked in. Stukov is always a great support on this map. His zone control is amazing. Obviously, he drops the lurking arm. It's a huge, big pool of damage and silence, and you don't want to be that. And if you're a Malfurion, if you're a Genji, sorry, if you're a Gul'dan or Malfurion and you're trying to run through that to either escape or get into position to do damage, you're you're in such a terrible position for Genji to either follow up or ETC to follow up and power slide into that and drop a mosh pit as well.
Yeah, and it's, as you mentioned, just a lot of control around those objective points. If you get those locking arms down onto the beacons, it's very hard for really anyone to try and make a play on it. So if Downfall do manage to control a lot of the pace of the game, that Stukov is going to get so much more value, as we do have the last couple of picks coming in for Rich Gang. It's going to be the Anubarak and the Greymane. So shoring up that front line with that Anubarak, wanting to have that Arthas as that solo laner, and Greymane to help out with the extra DPS. It's a pick that, even though he did get a little some of those changes, he's still very strong.
Who's the solo laner on Downfall side? That's what I'm trying to look at now. Like
they could look towards a solo laner right now, but if they feel as though it's going to be the Arthas up there, which it more than likely will, we have seen a while ago the Hanzo going into that solo lane to bully out those melee matchups. That's an option that Downfall could go for, and also potentially have the Genji pop in from time to time with his mobility, able to influence both lanes. But it is going to be the Leoric, who does very well into those durable solo lane or durable tanks, and he will have a pretty decent time up against that Arthur. So a solid way to round out their composition.
Yeah, it really does neutralize the top lane as well. You know, Arthas versus Leoric, there shouldn't be too much action, as opposed to, like, you know, they'll be obviously hurting each other. There's not going to be much in way of them actually securing kills on each other. It's going to be really down to really good rotations out of each side. But each side, I feel, has really decent lane clearing potential. Downfall is a little bit weaker, but they do have the Stuvkov to back that up a little bit. It's not the best use of Lurking Arm, but it's an option. Whereas Rich Gang, look at that wave clear, the Gul'dan, the Greymane, you know, argumentatively the Malfurion, and Ubarak's going to be dropping a lot of buggies down on the ground as well to help clear that out. They've just got such good wave clear on the side of Rich Gang.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that's the Downfall are going to have to be on top of for a lot of this game, because a lot of the time we find in really any map is that whoever controls the waves better, they're able to get around the map and be a little bit more proactive, especially around the objectives. And from there, it's easier to control the pace of the game. And that could be Rich Gang's path into the advantages here.
All right, so here we are. We load up into Parax's holdout. It's the first game of the night for Night 2, HGC ANZ Premier League. Let's get started on the red side. It is, of course, Downfall, currently sitting on a complete victory run here in the Premier League. We've got FaZe playing on ETC. Next up, we've got Konya on Genji, Supperfish on Leoric. Stukov is played by Shrek is Love. And, of course, Hanzo is Magic Gnome.
And on the blue side, we have Rich Gang. We have Fesh on the Greymane. Fairy is on Malfurion. Jim Jam is on Gul'dan. Katori subbing in is going to be on the Anubarak. And Deceptive is going to be on the Arthas.
All right, and here we are. So early on, it's Rich Gang choosing to be the 5-man in the bottom, trying to get a nice little kill there. They've dived in onto a ETC. FaZe does a switch out. There again, look at that, the Stukov, the silence. Shrek is love. Shrek is life, keeping FaZe alive in these early windows of the game.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Stukov lurking arm, and we saw the strength of it right there. And it looks like this Anubarak is taking so much damage. Sure, technically he is a warrior and a tank, but he's a rather squishy bug from time to time and can fall prey to a lot of that damage coming out from the Shimada brothers.
Now, I think something to highlight about that, the Shimada brothers will be looking to crush that bug Katori. He is argumentatively the least practiced on the team, just not appearing that much inside the pre-season. So he is sort of the target that Downfall might be looking to punish a little bit. See if he's rusty. Like, we're gonna see what the mileage is like on Katori. However, Rejected does spawning very soon.
Just a bit of a heat check. Make sure he's still ready to go, as we do have a nice engage going down onto FaZe, but he's going to be fine. But already we're seeing it so far. This wave clear on the side of Rich Gang is just allowing them to control the pace so far. And it's allowed them to play so very aggressive.
Did you see, again, Shrek is Love drawing down that amazing lurking arm to stop the follow-up damage from Gul'dan but moment before? I love it. We just said this is going to be the aim of the game. Objectives have spawned now And right now, it's actually the blue team that's in a little bit of an advantage. They have been pushed off. So they go back in. ECC's gotten the tangling roots. There's a beautiful Konya got trapped up as well. No follow-up damage. Contori could be in a little bit of trouble.
Ooh.
Does fall. This is bad now. Rich Gang have to back out. Riches to poor. That's the story we're seeing unfold right now.
Yeah, and meanwhile on the top side, the Leoric, as we expected, is going to have the advantage in this 1v1 and was able to get control of that top beacon. So this is very much going in favor of Downfall early on. Sure, they don't have the wave clear, but in the straight fights, they are very much in the advantage.
In the bottom lane, we just saw Gul'dan get bullied into a unescapable position and get taken out again. Just staggering the deaths coming out from our Rich Gang, allowing this 100% Zerg wave at 2 minutes 30.
Yeah, that's incredibly quick, and this is going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to balloon this experience lead so early on in this game for Downfall. And they're in a great position right now. That lurking arm is so good when you're on the offensive with these Zerg waves.
Yeah, look, they can't get through the door. They can't get into position. Jim Jam's having to fight in an odd angle. Can't quite get the damage out. So it's all going on to the Zerg wave, trying to stop those massive Ultralisks from getting in and doing any damage. FaZe goes in. Konya goes in as well. It's onto the ECC. Katoria getting bullied again. He's had to borrow out. The Entangling Roots comes down. Hanzo comes out and snipes him.
Yeah, there's a brilliant start to this game, and they're just going to keep the pressure on as Jim Jam gets caught out. Another down, and already this is going from bad to worse for the side of Rich Gang.
Oh, I tell you what, talk about explosive arrows, both in talent at level 4 for Hanzo and in actual gameplay. That was a beautiful pickup there. Wasn't expecting. Katori looked like he did make it to safety, but look, once Katori's gone, it's a really weak front line on the side of Rich Gang. Even though Arthas is there, he just doesn't have a strong initiation game. Unless he does get his unless he does get his lock in place. But look at behind this lovely trap. They are setting it up. Downfall are plotting the downfall of Rich Gang as we speak now. Waiting for him to come to their merc camp.
And it looks like Rich Gang, they are aware that something could be up, but they do have Katori going in as the scout, but they are getting collapsed on and they are overextended.
Wow, overextended in your own part of the lane. How scary is that? Konya does take a lot of damage. Fesh is in trouble. So is Berry. Gets taken down. Malfurion out of the count. Greymane gone as well. Downfall looking so polished right now. Like I said, they are 2-0'd Aztec on Tuesday night, and it's looking very promising as well in this match early on. Did you know, actually, GL, interesting fact, in their first game against Aztec, they actually finished it in 11 minutes.
Just a nice quick aside there, as we're just seeing the rest of Downfall just blasting their way through this game. They're here to play. We saw them have a few hiccups throughout the qualifiers, but as we are seeing right now, and as we can gather from the results from Tuesday, they have really picked up their game. They have shored up a lot of those deficiencies in their coordination, and they are just blasting through some of these early games.
Jill, I have to ask a question. Do you like chicken tendies?
I'm scared to ask where this is going, but sure.
Well, all I can say is that Downfall must have some chicken tendies in the oven right now, because they are desperate to close this game out so they can get to them. This is amazing how much damage they put in.
I was worried where you were going to take that one, but yeah, it looks like they are in a rush and they are looking to essentially speedrun this game and get this one all the way through to the base of Rich Gang. They're just not really letting up the pressure right now.
It is, they're capturing all the, they're invading the enemy side, capturing all their mercenaries. What is Rich Gang meant to do with that? Those mercs exist for them to try and get back in the game, not for you, Downfall, to take them. So much pressure now in each lane, GL. They can rotate back, they can get their own merc camps. Ooh. And what is Rich Gang going to try and do to contest this?
It looks like they're trying to be aggressive themselves, but they're down 2 levels, and sure, you are on the same talent tier, but those level of disadvantages are going to come into effect as you get these fights going on, and it's going to be a straight 5v5 over this camp.
That's it. It's being picked up now. It looks like Downfall have grabbed it. Katori out for the count yet again. Fesh runs away for his life, but they lay Auric and a FaZe chasing up behind him. Berry's in a lot of trouble here. Malfurion has been connected by by Leoric, but it's Leoric. Supperfish is going to catch, gets the slow on, no follow up. FaZe is going to dive in. Yes, he does. It doesn't get rooted in place. Wow, the stun stopped Malfurion from actually walking forward more to allow that trap to go on. That's amazing. Both points have been captured now from the downfall. And GGL, it looks like it's just a matter of time now, isn't it?
It really is. It's just control. It looks
like... Kotori's gone on. They got Shrekker's Love captured. This could be a great mate. Mighty Shove comes in, but it shouldn't be enough. We will see Stugov fall. That's great. Kotori has to flee for his life. It's a trade, but it's a favorable trade. Now it's dropped down. However, Konya comes in, gets the kill. And that's a free keep. And oh no, Supperfish has followed up. More for the taking, more lambs for the slaughter. You think Butcher was in this game with the way they're destroying this team right now.
Wow, this is just taking anything that's potentially going in favor of Rich Gang and just turning it on its head. It was a great gank to take out Shrekker's Love on that Stukov, but they had to use so much just to get in, but they were already down in heroics, and it was at that point that Downfall was able to just turn it around and just blast away at the surviving members of Rich Gang, and they get the 100 Zerg wave, and they're just going to start pushing it straight into the base of Rich Gang. It's going to be very hard for this defense to hold on.
It's only 15 minutes, GL. That's all it takes. Chicken tendies in the oven. It's 15 minutes, and Downfall have to go get them out very soon. Pushing into this bottom lane right now. There's the keep. They want to grab it. Konya goes in. Jim Jam has been trapped by Supperfish. See another Gul'dan fall. What sort of warlock are you, Gul'dan? Obviously not a very good one, as you were taken out yet again. The keep will fall behind this push. And look, we're going to see a little bit of follow-up play here on Fesh. Greymane in a lot of trouble. Has been silenced. Can't escape. I love... Oh, Shrek is love. Shrek is life. Shrek is death. Get out of here, Greymane.
This has just been domination from the first minute. Well, I'll say it probably minute 2 or 3, but it has just been Downfall in control for so much of this game that we just did not really give Rich Gang a chance to come back in, and that is just an incredibly strong start to this series.
Oh, GL, it was 8 minutes and 57 seconds.
We did say it was probably going to go less than 10 minutes, but to be honest, I didn't expect it to be that convincing.
That is just... Downfall just looking so well. It's interesting to pick here that last time Rich Gang and Downfall did play in the preseason, Rich Gang were the victors in there, and I think it was very convincing as well. However, Downfall, they've gone away, and they're just looking so good. I don't know what more to say, GL. You know, they are looking so good right now. Their drafting composition, you know, they're taking the time, they're thinking about what they want, the way they're executing these maps. We do have to point out on Rich Gang that they are playing with an emergency sub. So you do have to factor in that component as well. But even then, when they're on the back foot, I felt Rich Gang did kind of like, they tried, like they did everything they needed to do. It just didn't come through at the end of the day.
Yeah, they tried everything they could, but once you start getting behind, it's just very hard to get back into it. And they try to make a play onto that the mercenary camp, the medium camp on the side of Downfall, but at that point they were 2 levels down, and they just weren't able to get those initial picks. And when those fights are just going on and they're just fighting over a lurking arm, it's never going to end up well for the team. On the side of Rich Gang. So They tried all they could. It didn't work. They're just going to have to see how they can go for the next game.
That's it. As the next game is getting ready, it's getting prepared. Wow, man, I was not expecting that, GL. I was not expecting that. Rich Gang, Rich Gang has some very veteran players on there, and very well experienced players as well in the terms of Fesh having competed in other leagues as well. But again, we'll see how it goes. They're rewriting the book here, Downfall. They're rewriting it. Their first game on Monday night was 11 minutes. Their second game was 16 minutes. Tonight was 8 minutes 57. They're setting personal records every time they play.
Through this whole league, they just
if
the game goes too long, they just kind of nod off, and it just doesn't really work out for them. As we saw in a lot of the preseason games, if it goes too long, it gives them more of a chance to kind of throw away some of those leads, which I think we could all look back to one of those games of Volskaya with that choke gold composition as one of those big notables. But a lot of that
Mm.
we haven't really been seeing. We haven't been seeing any of those hiccups from the team. It's just pretty damn clean play, and I'm very, very impressed by how much they've turned around from those preseason games.
Yeah, like they've just grown so much, and it's amazing. Right now the Premier League is full of so many teams that can get there, that can make it, and to see a team like Downfall performing so well, considering that I think it's Rich Gang, Neko Mimi, even Quick Match Warriors. Quick Match Warriors. They did actually beat them, I believe. But just looking at all, let's say the bottom end of the team, the bottom 8 or the bottom 4, Downfall was consistently beaten by them. But
yeah, they were at the bottom, yes, but they, as we've been seeing, they've improved tremendously. Downfall was the only team to be beaten by all of the other qualifying teams, but that doesn't really mean all that much when the full season kicks off, and we're seeing that right now. A great start to, great first week for them, regardless of how the rest of this series plays out. They have really shown up and are going to be challenging to try and get into that upper half of the league standings, and some of these other teams are going to have to be watching out for this team.
Definitely, be careful, because in their name is Downfall, and in nature they're going to be your downfall as well. Look, guys, we're going to go to a short break. We'll be back very soon with game number 2 into tonight's matches. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll see you very shortly.